we got less than a minute before we hop into this thing, and I just want to say, feel free to stand up and join us this morning. Get yourself clapping, get yourself moving, have a good time. Let's feel right. Ooh, slowing it down, nice. Oh, Hello, namaste, everybody. Good to see you here and good to see you at home. 1, 2. I am alive with the Spirit of God. 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 I am alive, yo. Alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive with the Spirit of God. A little faster, there we go. I am alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive with the Spirit of God. Oh, I am alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive, yo. Alive with the Spirit of God. All right, Rohan's gonna take one for y'all. Here we go, a little solo. You guys are the rhythm section today. It's beautiful.
Welcome, namaste. How wonderful to see everybody. Our congregation is just growing more and more as things are opening up. It's so awesome. So let us start our service off with our affirmation. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And let us just say it one more time today. Let's just be with that. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And let us pray. So we pause, we listen, we hear. The I am that I am, the infinite intelligence that is living in, through, and as my life, and as the life of each person in this sanctuary, each person that is hearing this beautiful prayer that's streaming. We just recognize the infinite intelligence that is the all that is all. So we bless this service knowing that Spirit speaks through Bobby, sings through Kong, plays through our musicians, that we dance with Spirit this day as we co-create a magical service that speaks to each one of us in the unique way that we each need to hear, that this message falls on open hearts, open minds, that we come together to just remember how magnificent we are and to see the face of God, to know and feel the face of God, the I am that I am. So we surrender to the power and the presence, just allowing this service to unfold with joy and confidence and ease, saying, and so it is. So I let it be. Amen.
Good afternoon, namaste. I am Susan Kalock, and I'm on the Board of Trustees. And I would like to have you join me in affirming who we are. I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you which is love, truth, light, and peace. When you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we recognize that we are one. Namaste. And I invite you to join me in reading our mission statement. I learn practical science of mind tools and practice in a loving, connective, and vibrant community to reveal my power and change my life. We do that by awakening to the truth of who we are. We realize those truths, and in so doing, we transform our lives. And then we repeat the process over and over each time we go to a deeper and deeper level. Our power statements: we are a thriving, dynamic, spiritual community. Hashtag we are namaste, and hashtag this stuff works, and indeed it does. Thank you to the Practitioner Corps, specifically Valerie Day, Candace Stein, and Chuck Spencer for the inspiring service they gave last Sunday. I also want to say to the individuals that stood up and shared their story last Sunday, thank you for your courage to stand before us. I want to give thanks to Rev Carol and the Practitioner Corps for facilitating the first year of practitioner studies. Year one is now done. Our students are halfway through. I also give thanks to the slide team for showing up every Sunday to not only create our Sunday experience, but also the online service. And then lastly, I want to say thank you to Miguel, our sound engineer. This is his last Sunday service. We will miss him, and we are forever grateful for him coming into our lives. So next Sunday, January, that's my birthday, January 13th. So June 13th. June 13th is our grand reopening here in our new home at 6500 Stearns Avenue. We invite you to come at 4 o'clock. We will have a walking meditation outside in the labyrinth in the courtyard, and then service will begin at 4:30. We've been preparing a safe space to gather. The energy here is uplifting, unlike when you're on Zoom or on watching at home on your couch, even though it's comfortable. Our music is led by Kong. It's deep and inspiring, so we invite you to join us Sunday the 13th. It's 4:30 here. We'll have refreshments and plenty of outdoor space to reconnect after service. June 9th, on Wednesday at 7 p.m. through Zoom, we're going to be visioning. We're looking to see what's next for Namaste. We've accomplished a lot in the last 3 years, and we're positioned for great potential. So join us on the 9th at 7 p.m. and speak into the powerful spiritual practice of visioning. On Wednesday, June 16th at 7 p.m., we have the Moon Mama, Monique Ruffin, here to talk about the benefits of learning to create your life with the moon, both as a practical and mystical technique. Monique will introduce us to the power of the moon's phases and how they guide us in creating the life of our dreams. Our service in the park for June is moving to the third Sunday, which is June 20th. It'll be 10 a.m. And we're moving to a new park. We're moving to Whaley Park on Atherton Avenue. So it'll be a little easier to find than where we were at Recreation Park. So join us on the 20th at 10 a.m. Whaley Park. Uncommon Conversations, hosted by Rev. Bobby Becker, are conversations with uncommon people serving as spiritual leaders in diverse ways. Each conversation includes tools and stories of walking an uncommon life. You can view these on our Namaste YouTube channel, or also on the public television channel LA 36, where we have a listing called Unlocking Your Life. For those of you that have been thinking about joining choir, unfortunately it is now on hiatus. The regional choir is on hiatus. If you want more information, you can always email Marilee Adler or Julie Bathke. And then lastly, join the practitioners each weekday morning at 7 a.m. You can go on through Zoom or you can make a phone call. Start your weekday off with prayer, support, and connection. All of the offerings that I've talked about are available on our website calendar, through our newsletter, and also on Facebook. So you can look at all three places to get more information. Thank you.
I'm held in love, I'm held in peace. God is holding me with every breath and every step. God is holding me. 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 I'm held in love, I'm held in peace. God is holding me with every breath and every step. God is holding me. God is holding me. God is holding me.
God is holding me. Just let yourself feel that. God is holding me. This month, we're diving into the soul's call, and today Reverend Bobby's taking us deeper into the topic of pushed by pain. Our book this month is Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. What a treat it's been for me to reconnect with this book, and it was really been used. I pulled it off the shelf, and as I was preparing for today and opened the book, it was fun to read that this is a Namaste publishing book, is what it said inside. Eckhart Tolle uses the term pain body. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, it's just really our ego. It's those places where we struggle. For example, my pain body shows up as comparing myself to others, judging myself, feeling not enough, making up stories that aren't true and believing them. This is all my pain body. The bottom line is to be free from the pain body and release ourselves from suffering, we must be present. It sounds so simple, but with all of the external distractions and human goings-on, it can be quite challenging. Now more than ever, we have to be diligent stewards of our mind. We must be disciplined in our willingness and desire to be fully present. Another way to think about our pain body, Susan mentioned our Monday through Friday calls, when we're showing up and sharing our story, our stuff, our triggers, our challenges. That's our pain body. So it's a little public service announcement. Come to our Monday through Friday calls and connect with your pain body and transform it through the power of prayer. It always comes down to the simple principle: be present, live in the now. As Eckhart Tolle's previous book states, The Power of Now. We call it spiritual practice because we need to constantly practice being in the now and letting go of our future tripping or past popping, as one of our prayer call attendees likes to say. So it gets us off track from being in our bliss when we're not present. So I know for myself, the more willing I am to be in the now and let go of the old stories, the quicker I am to catch myself and bring myself back into the present. Before I take us into a few moments of stillness while God is holding us, I just wanted to read from chapter 1 of the book, The Flowering of Human Consciousness. As some of you may recall, I have a special connection to flowers, and beauty is really definitely one of my core values. So just listen. The flowering of consciousness, evocation. Earth, 114 million years ago, one morning just after sunrise, the first flower ever to appear on the planet opens up to receive the rays of the sun. Prior to this momentous event that heralds an evolutionary transformation in the life of plants, the planet had already been covered in vegetation for millions of years. The first flower probably did not survive for long, and flowers must have remained rare and isolated phenomenon, since conditions were most likely not yet favorable for a widespread flowering to occur. One day, however, a critical threshold was reached, and suddenly there would have been an explosion of color and scent all over the planet if a perceiving consciousness had been there to witness it. Much later, those delicate and fragrant beings we call flowers would come to play an essential part in the evolution of consciousness of another species. Humans would increasingly be drawn to and fascinated by them. As the consciousness of human beings developed, flowers were most likely the first thing they came to value that had no utilitarian purpose for them. This is to say, was not linked in some way to survival. They provided inspiration to countless artists, poets, and mystics. Jesus tells us to contemplate the flowers and learn from how learn from them how to live. The Buddha is said to have given a silent sermon once, during which he held up a flower and gazed at it. After a while, one of those present, a monk called Mahakassayapa, began to smile. He's said to have been the only one who had understood the sermon. According to the legend, that smile was handed down by 28 successive masters and much later became the origin of Zen. Seeing beauty in a flower could awaken humans, however briefly, to the beauty that is an essential part of their own innermost being, their true nature. The first recognition of beauty was one of the most magnificent events in the evolution of human consciousness. The feelings of joy and love are intrinsically connected to that recognition. Without fully realizing it, flowers will become for us an expression in form of that which is most high, most sacred, and ultimately formless within ourselves. Flowers more fleeting, more ethereal, and more delicate than the plants out of which they emerged would become like messengers from another realm, like a bridge between the world of physical forms and the formless. They not only had a scent that was delicate and pleasing to humans, but also brought a fragrance from the realm of spirit, using the word enlightenment in a wider sense than the conventionally accepted one. We could look upon flowers as the enlightenment of plants. So let's just take a moment and connect with the flower, that delicate flower, that beauty. Close your eyes and witness the inner beauty that is the I am that you are. Witness the inner beauty that is the I am that you are. God is holding me. You are beautiful. You are delicate. You are precious. You are the I am that I am, and so it is. Thank you. Namaste.
See more than I want to see. People I love turning on me. But I know there's a better day coming. I've been dreaming that one fine day all my trouble gonna fade away. And I know there's a better day coming. Whoa, whoa, better day coming. Whoa, whoa, better day coming. And it's harder holding on to forgiveness, to lay those ghosts to rest. Oh, but the sun can rise out of the darkest night. No anger, no bitterness can fill the hole inside my chest. Too long have I been running? Oh, that blue horizon ain't far away. I hear it calling out my name, and I know there's a better day coming. gonna change everything. Better day coming. Better day coming. Better day coming. Better day coming. And I've been dreaming that one fine day all my trouble gonna fade away. And I know there's a better day coming.
A better day coming. So, most days, I walk around the neighborhood that we live in the city of Orange. And I have this route that I do. I'm a creature of habit, so I have a route I really like. And it goes through the neighborhoods, and there's many neighborhoods around us and developments, which is what I love about Orange and Long Beach. And you can walk in one block and it's a style of home, and the next block's a different style of home. And I really enjoy that. And as I'm walking through and I'm going by each house, one of the things I'm really, really good at is determining what people need to do to their homes. I am so good at that. I mean, I walk by and I see patches of dead grass and I've already figured out how to fix that one. Or I'll walk by and I'll see that there's grass growing in their flower bed and I fix that too. Or there's paint that's peeling somewhere and I have painted it by the time I have passed their house. And I have two really good friends, Andy and Sue, who just moved to Palm Desert and Palm Springs, and they've purchased a home and they're remodeling it and they're going to have to refurbish and furnish it, and I have fixed all that for them this morning too. I am so good at that. I'm so good at it that my head doesn't shut off a lot of times unless I'm really present and realize that what I've done is just fix the entire neighborhood whether they like it or not, right? And I'm sure that some of you find that some kind of common experience in that, because if it's not the folks, it's like, are people wearing masks? Are they not wearing masks? Are people doing the things that I think that they should do and how I think that they should do them, including my lovely wife and our daughter and anyone else that comes into my life? I'm really good at organizing your lives. You don't even know it. And I'm sure some of you share that with me too. And I think what's really interesting is Ernest Holmes, he says, and he reminds us, there's a question which naturally arises: why all the suffering? Why the sorrow? Why pain? And then why does tragedy accompany our journey along the way? There's no other way through which we can evolve except to pass through what oftentimes looks like as pain. And the pain that we walk through is different for each one of us. What causes you pain may not cause me pain at all. What causes me pain may to you be celebration. I realized that the way in which, so Valerie talked about the pain body, which is in the new earth. My pain body is pretty consistent. You know, I see the gaps out there in my own life mostly. I can be very judgmental about my own life and what I should and shouldn't do and how things are in my own life. I can be very judgmental, and I really have to work at catching myself to not take myself down pretty low. In the past, I've done that a lot. And I noticed about 4 years ago, it was interesting, we were in Maui. It was, actually it was 3.5 years we were in Maui. I just had left a center. And it was before I came to Namaste, and I was in the house that we used to own in Maui. And I was waking up every night in the middle of the night, just incredibly concerned with nothing. Just really concerned. Most of my life has been a lot of worrying. Does anybody worry in the room? Yeah. Most of the time I've been consumed, obsessed with worrying about the silliest things. And I wonder what does the purpose of worrying? And Tori, if you go ahead and pop up that slide, which is worry pretends to be necessary. It does. It is the pain body that feeds the ego. It's what keeps the ego so powerful, is worrying. Worrying about what may or may not happen. Worrying about what may or may not occur, but also what someone may or may not do, what someone may or may not think. So that 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, before I came to Namaste, I was waking up in the middle of the night, and I remember, and I read it recently, it was in my journal that says, I am so sick of worrying so much about so little. And I really had to think about what this practice of worry is, and I've done a host of things, which is looking in the Enneagram. I'm a 1 on the Enneagram, which, by the way, what it really means is the voice in my head is in stereo and surround sound and is very busy. So I started to work on that. And I was doing pretty good, and then the pandemic hit. And I gotta tell you that through this year, worrying about getting streaming perfect, you heard the perfect word, worrying about making sure that Namaste was going to make it through this last year, and by the way, it was entirely up to me. The success or failure of the community was all me. And there were times I would wake up in the middle of the night, which I do often, and think about the things that I hadn't done well enough, forgot to do, was concerned about what folks sometimes, well, if it fails, I don't like failure, people. I don't like failure. My whole life has been about being competent. My competence was the way in which I thrived. And when I wasn't competent, I was miserable. And there were many times in my life where I had certain roles that were so unfamiliar to me in my corporate life that I would be thrown into positions that I had no idea about, and then I would have to figure it out and somehow survive and thrive. Sometimes I did it, sometimes it didn't. And there was one instance in my life that not only did I not thrive, but I thought I was going to crash and burn. And what was interesting is during the pandemic, that came up all over again. That incident came up all over again for me. And as I've gone through this last year, one of the reasons I picked the book of the month, which is The New Earth, by the way, it's not about finding your life purpose like vocation. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with finding the how of your life. How can I be more present in life? Because what happens when I'm more present? Now, the pain, or the pain body as Valerie called it, is the ego's food. So every time I'm frustrated, Tori, I'm going to ask you to put up the next slide. Thank you. Ego food. It literally is food. It's like it can't get enough. So for those of us so for example, if you're not necessarily had an addiction to food, or you haven't had an addiction to alcohol or drugs or anything like that, how many of you are addicted in thinking? There is nobody that does not have that addiction, because our brains were actually hardwired to think constantly in an effort to protect us from the lion that is sitting outside the door, that no longer sits there, but now is, did I turn off the lights, or did I remember to turn off the TV? Did I I forgot to call so-and-so, or whatever that might be. Whatever it is that I continually thinking, which is worrying, which is unnecessary, most often what we think about really doesn't pertain, or are we really helping any situation whatsoever? In fact, our thinking, which has been proven, consists of compulsive conditioned thought processes in which 98% of our thinking is useless. Chris Schreiber just fell over in her chair. 98% of, I did too, Chris. I read this and I went, oh crap, I'm wasting a lot of time. Like 98% of my time I'm wasting. 98% of our thinking is useless. Sitting around trying to figure out something when most of the time what we're trying to figure out isn't even going to happen, most of the time. But at the same time, it's preventative. So, ego's most powerful food source. When I become identified, like, for example, have you ever sat there? I've done this, I can't tell you how many times. I've sat in a restaurant by myself or sat somewhere and I've walked down a path of thinking that I ended up somewhere that I can't even tell you. I had, just like walking around my neighborhood where I've cleaned up everybody's lawn and their garden and their home, fixed their doors, their windows, their screens, and everything else, to where my walk is done and all I've done is fix the neighborhood and it still looks the same. 98% of my thinking is useless. When I've identified with things, which is somehow to keep those things with me, is somehow to protect those things, to make sure that people behave and act in a particular way. And when I'm so identified with someone else's behavior that I'm totally lost on the fact that I'm so identified with somebody else's behavior. The stories that I've created, the baggage that I'm walking around with, which consists of childhood trauma that I'm still carrying, events that have happened in my adult life, grief and loss through loss of loved ones, whatever it might be. I'm walking around with all that, and everything I'm thinking comes from the filter of that pain body that feeds the ego, that tells the ego that I should be concerned. The ego thinks it can figure it all out, and it actually cannot. It does not problem solve, really. It might problem solve in a sense of, I think it is, but it really spends most of its time swirling around in my head, making sure that I'm concerned, because the more concerned I am, the more food that I'm providing to the ego. Oftentimes, one of the things I like to do is to relive a story and to overprocess it and figure out how I could have done it all differently. Anybody do that? Oh, I'm sure none of you do that. That overprocessing, as if somehow I could change the past. Right? Exactly. Oh, I could have done that. So I want to optimize my past in the present. And the ego does this, which I think is really important. The ego, which is listed up there, it applies content and structure to an event, to which you and I will never have the same. It's why we have relationship struggles, because we're sitting there wondering why the other person doesn't think about this story the same way I did. Why can't you see what you did? I see what you did. My ego's very good at identifying exactly what has happened to me. To me. So the ego has all this food. It has all these ways in which, and I've listed those up there, in which it can continue to be in the driver's seat, because I can't trust that there's something else operating as me that is what's called the bigger self, the true essence of who I am, that somehow in there, the ego's like, no, I got this. Leave it all to me. I'll figure it out. Of course, I'm exhausted because the ego is exhausting. So how do I know if I'm actually coming from ego? Next slide, Tori. You tell me if there's any of these things that you feel. anxiety, fear, dissatisfaction's my fave. Restlessness, boredom, unease, intense wanting. If only I had that, my life would be perfect. The ego is always going to say that this moment is not enough. It's always going to say that I'm not enough. It's always going to say that someone else isn't enough. It's always going to make the other wrong, as if there is a right and wrong. And when you look around our world right now, do you see that? The other is wrong. The other side is wrong. The other side is scary. And even if the other side isn't scary or acts scary, let's say they are, there's still more power in the self than there can ever be in the idea that the other is scary. Ernest Holmes, he reminds us that everything that is wrong in our experience, whether we call it pain, sickness, poverty, or unhappiness, it is the denial of the allness of God. We are denying that we are not connected, that we are not always connected, that we are not part of the greater. One of the things I love about the story about the flower is, so just think about this, I love flowers. I really love flowers. I love seeing them. And lately, I've been struggling cutting them because I want to possess them, so I cut them so that I can have them and put them in a display that suits, and there's nothing wrong with that, so if that's what you do, please don't take this wrong. But what I'm finding is if I'm going to do anything like that, the question is, am I trying to possess or am I trying to share it in a particular way? Is it not perfect as it is right there? Well, not my neighborhood, because people have flowers in the wrong beds. I mean, they're mixing, flowers with grass, so that can't be right. Abraham Hicks says, the things I care most about are the things I think most about. And the things I think most about are the things I have done the most damage to. Shall I read that again? Yeah, that one hurt yesterday. The things I care about are the things I think most about, and the things I think most about are the things I have done the most damage to. Whatever I obsess about, I'm suffering, and quite potentially causing suffering of others by being so obsessed with it. Because where I'm coming from, or where I'm thinking from, or what I'm believing about is from the ego. Because if I'm obsessed about something, it means I'm afraid about something. Every problem is primarily mental, and the answers to our problems will be found and can be found only in spiritual realization, which is spiritual truth. And to find the spiritual truth in anything, which is why it'd be great to go to a early morning spiritual practice at 7 a.m. so that you can, if you can't see the spiritual truth, our practitioners do that. That's what they do. So often I just can't find it because I'm so caught up in the ego that all I see is the problem. And not Einstein, excuse me. Who's the guy who discovered electricity? Edison. Thank you. You cannot solve the problem from the situation of the problem. You cannot do it. You cannot be in the problem and find a solution. That's all you'll continue to do, is continue to expand the problem. So imagine just for a moment the things that you're most obsessed about. What's the thing that you're most obsessed about? What is the thing that you most think about? So I'm just going to ask this question so you can kind of let me know, and if you're virtual, you can consider it for yourself, is, does the thing that I obsess about, does it bring me joy? If anybody has joy with what they obsess about, please raise your hand. I'd like to hear where that practice is bringing you joy. Nobody. And yet, we spend so much time thinking about the things that don't bring joy. And when I say joy, I'm talking about a lightness of being. That's my sort of definition of it. I'm hung or stuck in the heaviness of life, trying to solve something that's none of my business, more than likely. Truly, probably none of my business. Anytime I sit in judgment, or I sit in fear, or I sit in whatever that is, it's none of my business. So, in the New Earth, Eckhart Tolle, and if you haven't started the book, I really recommend that you do. Because what he is inviting us to do right now is, in order for us to shift, and right now the shift is important. There's nothing in Science of Mind that says that we cannot sort of end our time on the planet prematurely. There is nothing that says in that respect. But what we do believe is that when we practice when we have the practice of raising our consciousness to truth, we can indeed change the world. But we cannot do it casually. We cannot do it by playing the game of where the ego continues to be in the driver's seat most of the time. Can't do it. And so the practice, in order to change that, to actually get out of let the ego not drive anymore, is to be present. Eckhart Tolle says, a sin is to miss the point of human existence. That's the real sin. It's not about something I've done to inflame a god. It doesn't make sense to me anyway. But to miss the point of my own existence is a sin. To miss the mark. To sin would be to live skillfully, blindly, and thus suffer and cause others to suffer. When I am not conscious of my behavior, when I'm playing judge and jury of my own life and others, I'm doing harm to myself and to others. I have been working this whole year on letting go. I know that I've been carrying anxiety around probably my entire life without even realizing it. And what this last year brought for me is it raised my consciousness to be aware of the things that I'm practicing that are not only not serving me, but I'm sure are affecting other people that are close to me. So what am I doing? One, I'm finding, what am I obsessed about? What are my obsessions? What are the things I obsess about? Is it about what other people are doing? Is it about what my family is doing? Is it what's Janine? If I get obsessed about what Janine's doing, I'll be exhausted. I'm just telling you right now. Because she's amazing. If I'm obsessed about how somebody's doing something, what I've been working on is, what are the things the most often I think about? Where do I spend a lot of my time thinking? Not in an effort to stop thinking, but being aware of when my pain body is fueling my ego. Anytime I'm frustrated, it's my stuff. Anytime I'm angry, it's my stuff. No matter what is happening, my reaction to it is my stuff. It's my pain body. Nobody else's. That doesn't mean that I sit around and allow people to walk all over me. That's not the point. But if I react, it's my pain body. If I respond, it's my bigger self. The ego wants to want more than it wants to have. The ego will always want more. Always. That's how I know the difference between who's driving and who's not. It always wants more, and define what that more is. It doesn't have to be money. It could be just people behaving better. It could be a host of things, and each one of us get to look at what that means. Pain can be the motivation for a breakdown, a breakup, or a breakthrough. It is entirely up to us. And the pain that I experience in my life, the only way through it is to understand that that pain is my ego. It's what I carry with me. Anytime I'm experiencing, Tori, put up that list of, keep going, one more. Anytime any one of these show up, there's one way to get out of it. You want to know what it is? I'll show you. Think of something that you've been concerned about. Okay? Close your eyes and just kind of hold that, whatever it is that you've been concerned about. So just, let's start with your breath. Just feel your breath and get very present with that breath. Feel it moving in and out of the body. Feel how it moves in and out of your body. Next thing I want you to try is take your hands and place your hands in your lap, face up. Now I want you to feel into your hands. Now, first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, well, I can't feel into my hands maybe, or I don't know what she's talking about. But what I'd like you to do is let it go. Do you feel any tingling or any sensation in your hands as they're folded up? Just give it a sec. If you do, that is the energy in your body. That is your life force. If you will go into your body, not the pain body, but go into the body and feel your life force. Let me ask you, are you thinking about anything? Are you feeling anything except your body? The only way that the ego cannot operate is if you're present. And those are two ways. Feel into your breath, feel a part of your body. It could be your hands, move down to your feet, but feel the life force in your body. And there's absolutely no way you can't be present. And the ego cannot do anything because it is never present. So if you're in the past or the future, you're in the ego. If you're in your body and your breath and feeling your body, you are present. When we're present, we become the observer, and the things we are concerned about are no longer that big. In fact, they disappear. Every time you get worried, every time you get anxious, every time you're struggling with something, go to your breath, go to your hands. Every time. And even when you think, I don't have time or I got to do this, if you go there, you will be in a different part of your brain. You will not be coming from the back of your brain, the reptilian part of your brain. You'll be coming from the bigger brain. So today is the first day that we talk about this book called The New Earth. Going forward, I invite you to pick it up. To start to read it, there are 10 chapters. Each chapter will take you deeper and deeper into an experience of how to be present in your life so that we're no longer allowing the ego to be driving. That's the invitation. So let us pray. So as I come here today, as I stand upon this platform, this place and space in this room that is most sacred, I just recognize there's an allness and a oneness and a unity to it all. That all things are connected. And if all things are connected, if everything is part of the one, then I am part of that one. I am part of that one. And that everything in that one is also in me. So I declare right here and right now the truth of something, because what I know of me is also what I know of each person in this room. And the truth of each person in this room is that each person is enough right now, not tomorrow, not when they do something that makes them enough, but right now. Each one of us are enough. Each one of us have all that we need. And there is nothing to be concerned about in this moment, at this time. And then I feel into this body, recognizing this life force that connects me not just to me, but to others. And that I truly do have the power to influence and affect great change. And I know that's true for everyone in the room. So in that, I just call it good and very good. And so it is.
Walking in the street, looked up and noticed, but he was nameless, he was homeless. She asked him his name and told her what hers was. Gave her a story about life, with a glint in his eye, a corner of a smile, one conversation, a simple moment, things that change us if we notice when we look up. Sometimes they said I would never make it, but I was built to break the mold. The only dream that I've been chasing is my own. So sing a song for the hustlers, trading at the bus stop, the single mothers waiting on a check to come, young teachers, student doctors, sons on the front line, knowing they don't get to run. This goes out to the underdog. Keep on keeping at what you love, to find out someday soon enough you will rise up, rise up. She's riding in a taxi, back to the kitchen, talking to the driver about his wife and children. All around my country, they put you in prison for being a woman and speaking your mind. She looked in his eyes in the mirror and he smiled. One conversation, a single moment, the things that change us if we notice when we look up. Sometimes I would never make it, but I was built to break the mold. The only dream that I've been chasing is my own. Sing a song of hustlers, trading at the bus stop, the single mothers waiting on a check to come, the young teachers, the student doctors, sons on the front line, knowing they don't get to run. Well, this goes out to the underdog. Keep on keeping at what you love, and you find out someday soon enough you will rise up, rise up. Sing a song for the hustlers, trading at the bus stop, a single mothers waiting on a check to come, young teachers, student doctors, sons on the front line, knowing they don't get to run. This goes out to the underdog. Keep on keeping at what you love, you find out someday soon enough you will rise up, rise up, rise up. Thank you. Thank you to my good friend Rohan Road here.
Why don't you introduce who's on sound today?
What?
Introduce who's on sound today.
Yes, we have a new sound engineer here with us today, studying under the great Miguel Romero. His name is Andrew. Say hello to Andrew, everybody over here.
So one of the things I want to invite you to do, besides being grateful today, is think of something that you saw today as we go into our conscious giving, something that disturbed you today, something that didn't feel right today. Can you think of something? Did anything come up today for you that didn't feel right? Maybe not. Maybe one of the things I've noticed as we walk through the streets of Long Beach, we go through, is there's a lot of folks experiencing homelessness. There's a lot of times when we look and it's just, what do we do? Or we see something along the way and it can be disturbing. It can be sometimes frustrating, like, what do I do? And we wonder, what can I do? And I think I'd like to invite us all to do what we're talking about now, which is to get present. To get present rather than critical, which is critical of what I'm not doing or what I am doing, judgmental about what somebody should do or what somebody shouldn't do, and be present with it. To be present with who you see and your own perception of it. I'd like to invite you to do that this week. We have so much to be grateful for as a community. As we go into this moment right now, which is our conscious giving, Namaste has been blessed all year as a community. And I don't mean that as an entity. I mean that as a community. It's not a building. It's not a place, except in our hearts. It's a community of people that are like-minded, that come together, not only to be enriched and to enjoy sort of what life has to offer, but also to grow in the experience and expression of who we are, so we make a difference in our own world. So as we give today, and we do that gift, the options, of course, are always Give Plus and PayPal. And I'm just going to note that there's a basket in the center of the room that our welcome team places. So whatever that is, before you place it, if you're going to place something in the basket, just take that gift and just place it right here in your heart. And if you're an auto tithe and you just give, just take your hand and place it on your heart as that is what you give. If you serve, that is what you give. If you give your time, treasure, and talent, it is what you give. It is what we all give. So let us just take this moment right here and right now, knowing that whatever we give, take the ego out of it. Be present with that gift, as if that gift was infinite, because it is, no matter what it is, because it's energy. It's all energy. So let us give from that place of that energy in which I give from my heart, that bigger self. And we bless that gift today, knowing that it expands and extends itself beyond me, to the person next to me, to someone in the room, and those that enjoy this message and who we are as a community. So we call this gift today good and very good, and we allow it to be what it came to be. We don't call it anything except what it came here to be. And we just bless it and send it on its way, knowing that life returns back to us in immeasurable ways. And so it is. Amen. The affirmation, if we would. So if you will all read this with me, and let me just put it in front of me so I'm not turning around. So read it with me. The abundance of all good surrounds me and operates through me. Hold on. Breathe. I accept in faith God's plenty as mine and of Namaste. Breathe. I accept it with joy and use it with wisdom as the inlet and outlet to all that God is. Breathe. I affirm this is true, and so it is. So our benediction today, it is the benediction, isn't it? It should be a benediction, but there isn't? Oh, that's so funny. Who can help us start with the benediction? Candace. Right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is all that I am. Life is all that we are. I accept it, I am it, and I share it with all, just the way it appears and just the way it appears not. Thank you, life. Namaste.
I am the song. Sing along.
Let's have everyone stand.
Melody, I am the voice. Harmony, I am the heart of all eternity. I am Namaste. I am the color of diversity. I am the people remembering to be free. I am the love of all eternity. I am Namaste. I am. I am the way I am. I am the way I am. I am the way I am. I am Namaste. Yes, I am. Thank you, Namaste.
You too.
And
You
huge
too.
thanks to Miguel over there. Miguel, over here. And Mr. Jeff.
So I want to thank everybody. Kong, of course. Music. Rohan. Rohan, excuse me, Rohan.
I think you said it earlier.
Thank you. And Miguel, thank you so much for serving us through this. Really appreciate it. Andrew, thanks for being here today. Hope to see you again. And Valerie, great share today. Thank you so much for that. Our Board of Trustees, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tori, thanks for being on technical today. Paulette, thank you for holding space today. And our welcome team in the back. For those of you that come next week, make sure if you're interested that you see that, first of all, remember there's a labyrinth walk at 4 o'clock. The labyrinth is right out here. The welcome team will guide you on this little journey here as we get over to the labyrinth. It's our first time to have meditation as a service. It's our first time to open the doors completely, which is next Sunday. We'll continue. Please wear your masks. Please make sure you're safe. We really appreciate each one of you. It's great to see some of you I haven't seen in a while. I'm so grateful to get to see you. I know each one of us, our practitioners for their service, and just know that each one of you are loved by this community. And have a great week.